What is up, guys? Welcome back to CrimsonCX and welcome back to a video on Mini Metro. It has been a while since that, hasn't it? It's been since February maybe, I could be wrong, but basically the idea is today we're playing on the London map in creative mode, and you can see what it says there: redesign the original Underground Railway. That's basically what we're doing today. Simply enough, we're going to try. I've got a tube map literally right by me, so hopefully it's possible. Admittedly, things get a bit more difficult when the river's involved. It gets a hell of a lot worse when that is the case. I am going to have to... I'm going to have to think a bit. So, I want to basically start at Baker Street. So as I said, we're basically going to have to ignore the... We're not going to be able to do the whole tube map, but we're not going to be able to do all the lines either. So we're going to say that's Baker Street. Then we're going to say Great Portland Street is there. Then Euston Square is there. We're going to have Euston there. So they're all fairly close, as you'll be able to tell. So let's get that going. So that is the circle line. Then after Euston Square we have a little bit of a gap, and we'll then go to, what are you saying, about King's Cross is probably about there. So we don't have a cross, so we'll do a plus. That is a cross, technically. I'm thinking... I'm overthinking this. The point is, that's King's Cross, so we can extend this. So let's look through the colours, actually. That's something we've got to do now. So there's Circle, Central, Piccadilly, Victoria, District, Hammersmith and City, and Bakerloo. So, we're going to have to cut down on some of the different ones. So basically, Hammersmith and City is going to represent... I forgot what it was called, the Metropolitan. Although, actually, we could just bail completely on the Metropolitan. I'm not entirely sure. I know for a fact, though, if we go back to the creative mode and we delete that, because that is throwing me off slightly, and then we'll delete all three, is that we want to go down a little bit. Yeah, and we want to... I don't know why I did that. So this is Farringdon. And then... how close can we get Barbican and then Liverpool Street? So, Barbican has to go there. Then Liverpool Street is probably roughly there. So, we're getting a decent structure. Also, I am completely aware that someone has probably already done this before, but I don't really care. I don't really care at all. So, realistically at this point, well, we need to start thinking about the, what do you call it, line? Central. I don't know why I forgot what it was called. But we're going to have Central go in here. That works. Then Central's got to go... I'm not entirely sure. We'll go St Paul's about here. Do a circle flat. And then after St Paul's it's Chancery Lane, which I'll put about there. And then is it Holborn, okay. Which we'll do with a rugby ball. So you can tell that this is a very... No, we don't want to do that. No, come on. It's not what I wanted to do, please, no. That does remind me, I did actually forget which line out of Northern or Piccadilly we had, but if we say that, so that's St Paul's, Chancery Lane, Holborn, so we can actually King's Cross, so that isn't far away. All we've got to do is have a station between that, and then we've actually done a little bit of the network, like, properly. And I know the river has completely screwed this up, but... So there we are. That is actually fairly accurate. Right, what is the plan now? Because... sadly, as people will be aware, we do not have the northern, so we're going to have to go straight to the... We're just going to do random icons and not think about it. So those two, that one represents Tottenham Court Road, that is Oxford Circus, and Oxford Circus comes in handy because we need to connect Victoria up to Euston. And then immediately after that, somewhere probably roughly about... Yeah, it's not very accurate now, but if you ignore the river, it's not too bad. It's not too bad after that. So if we just say down to here, and down to here, and then the way I'd put it is, we'll then put Victoria here. So this is roughly the extent of the map. So you can only really go on the Victoria from Euston to Victoria. Maybe to King's Cross. Yeah, that's possible. That'll work. So at that point, we start to think again about... Well, there's no Jubilee, so the next stop would have to be... If we add a bunch of stations again, so... About there is... St James's Park. Some would argue that we could just skip stations, but I'm going to see how it goes. Alright, so that is 3 stations. That is St James's Park, Westminster Embankment. Then we're going to need Temple not too long after. We got 3 stars in a row. Don't know what happened to my voice there, but we got 3 stars in a row. We then have to move up slightly for Blackfriars, which will be about there. And then Mansion House about there. I get screwed over by the river is the main problem. So Mansion House then goes to Cannon Street about there. Then Monument is about... I mean, that's the issue. There's no connection to... That's a problem, but there's nothing we can really do. Monument and Bank connect there, but it is always quite a long connection anyway, and we've actually put them as the same icon, so it was a worthy attempt. We then go to Tower Hill about here, and then Oldgate about... I think Oldgate can go here. I think we've actually succeeded mainly on the circle. So, yeah, Oldgate, Tower Hill, Monument, Cannon Street, Mansion House, Blackfriars, Temple Embankment, Westminster, St James's Park, Victoria. Okay, that is actually pretty accurate. I will say now, the one thing we can do, I have just realised I have accidentally skipped out Piccadilly Circus, which is interesting. I didn't think about that. I think the best place to do for that is probably about here. Yeah, that actually makes sense. So if we... because it means we can connect that into there. And then it means we can start working on Bakerloo shortly anyway. Obviously there's the thing in the districts, so the district will just go pretty much similar to, don't know why it changes over, but you just gotta deal with it. Can I change it over? Please, for the sake of continuity. That is arguably worse. That will do. Okay, nice. So obviously it goes on beyond that point, but the map will not allow that. We can start thinking about the other ways, which would be Sloane Square, South Kensington. We can do Sloane Square, and as I said, South Kensington, Gloucester Road. So Piccadilly needs to go, keep pressing the wrong button. Piccadilly needs to go in here to there, and then Circle has to go there. District has to go there too. Okay. Is it in the middle or actually on the tube map? No, Circle's in the middle. You've got to deal with it, I'm afraid. Right, Hammersmith and City can kind of do the exact same thing, because we said Baker Street there. You can go through all these. See, that is accurate, because the Hammersmith is above the... what do you call it? Circle on the tube map, basically. It looks pretty decent, all things considered. This is our last line, though, so please keep that in mind for the finished product. We've got Embankment, we'll go up to Piccadilly Circus, Oxford Circus, we'll put Regent's Park in a second, Baker Street. Okay. What's it worth to extend it further out? I guess eventually we can try... We can probably put a fairly safe guess at Notting Hill is about there. I might have to make this a two-parter though, potentially. I'm not entirely sure. But we know for a fact that, well, the Circle's definitely going to have to go towards there. Probably not like that though. It's pretty much like that. However, it looks a lot worse. Piccadilly will go as far as it basically can that way. District will either follow up to Paddington or just go down. Yeah, I think we're close to completion. I think we might put in a couple more stations though. Put in a... No, I didn't mean to do that. We'll put in a Edgware Road about here. We'll alternate the route slightly just to put in the station. Edgware Road can be like that. Keep in mind, obviously, this isn't going to be accurate by that point, but we'll put Marylebone and then the other Edgware Road in. And then, yeah, we might have to end off there, but I feel we've made some good progress. And we've done the majority of what we can do. So, if you want a part 2, to be honest, I might just record it anyway. But if you want a part 2, please let me know by subscribing to the channel. This is a very nerdy thing to do, but I hope you have enjoyed. And I will see you next time. Goodbye.